COVID-19. Mr. Multani, please.
Thank you very much, Nabi. A very good morning to all Her Excellency in Chile and all our friends from Chile, and a very good evening to our friends in India. We have today with us Her Excellency Ms. Anita Nair, Ambassador of India to Chile, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Joint Secretary, LAC, Department of Commerce, Government of India, Mr. K.V. Nagi Reddy, Director, FT LAC, Department of Commerce, Government of India, Ms. Andrea Rojas, General Manager, CAM India, Chile, India Chamber of Commerce, Santiago, Chile, Mr. Amitav Ray, Chairman, International Affairs Committee, Americas of the PHD Chambers, Ms. Rashmi Chopra, Co-Chair, International Affairs Committee, Americas of the PHD Chambers, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General of PHD, members of PHD Chamber, representatives from press and media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Honorable Ambassador of India to Chile, Ms. Anita Nair, and thank the Ambassador for accepting to our request to address our members today from Santiago, Chile. Good morning, Ambassador Madam. We are really thankful to you to address us so early morning from Chile. I would like to welcome Mr. Suresh Kumar, Joint Secretary LAC, Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, for gracing the occasion, and Ms. Andrea Rojas, General Manager, CAM India, Chile, India Chamber of Commerce, Santiago, Chile, and members of CAM India for this interactive session today. The novel coronavirus COVID-19 has affected more than 28 lakh people in more than 200 countries, a scourge affecting all of humanity, impacting lifestyles, businesses, and economies. Even before the onset of this pandemic, the global economy was confronting turbulence because of disruptions in trade flows and growth. The situation has now been aggravated by the demand, supply, and liquidity shocks that COVID-19 has inflicted globally. The sudden breaks in economic activity resulting from various mitigation measures that we are witnessing in the world's largest economies are simply unprecedented. While we are now focusing in India on securing the population from health hazards and on providing relief, we also need to think long-term to secure the health of the economy, viability of business, and the livelihoods of people. PHD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as a facilitator of business and industry, has put significant efforts to expand the India's investment ecosystem to new heights and taken proactive measures to foster and strengthen international linkages. Today's interactive session on the impact of COVID-19, its challenges, opportunities, and way forward for India-Chile business relations is one of them. Excellency, we would like to seek your views on the following issues pertaining to the Indian economy. International trade and investments are severely impacted in this period of turbulence. As per WTO, world trade is expected to fall by 13 to 32% in 2020 as the pandemic COVID-19 disrupts normal economic activity and life around the world. At this juncture, it becomes crucial for economies to have a more diversified export basket. The economies that are diversified in terms of the export basket would suffer less than those that are dependent on a fewer items. We also have the Focus LAC program of Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, with objective of focus country and country focus commodity approach. The program focuses on the following product groups for enhancing India's exports to the LAC region. Textiles, including ready-made garments, carpets, and handicrafts. Engineering products and computer software. Chemical products, including drugs, pharmaceuticals, and Ayush medicines. India trade bodies and sectoral councils and PHDC in the LAC region during the last few years have done events under my scheme to enhance the trade trajectory between the two regions. PHDCCI have suggested following measures oblique incentives for encouraging the exporters from India during this tough time. Additional support of funds, focus on business delegation outbound and inbound, focus on Make in India, Best of India shows, enhancing more budget for economic studies, oblique research and economic development activities, virtual exhibition space, freight subsidy, enhancement in airfare reimbursement. I'm sure the speakers today will touch upon these issues and will share with us their views on the same. With these words, I would like to welcome you all once again and look forward to wonderful sharing of views and to drawing some wonderful conclusions. Thank you very much, and God bless each and everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. So just to take this further, now I request Mr. Suresh Kumar, who is the Joint Secretary in the LAC Division in the Ministry of Commerce, who will give us more insight about the Focus LAC program, which 3 days back also we had discussed on that part, and some activities are going to happen on that. So I request Mr. Suresh Kumar to share his views, please. Neeraj, please unmute him.
Yeah. Good morning, madam, and other guests who have joined the video conference from Chile, and good evening to all other friends who are joining the conference from India. As was pointed out by Mr. Pradeep in his introductory remarks, Latin American region, including the Latin American countries and the Caribbean, we have great potential to actually increase the trade, and this is an area which the government of India is also focusing today. As on today, we all know that the extent of trade is not very significant as compared to many other regions. It's only about 3 to 4% of India's total exports, which is happening to the Latin American region. And as far as Chile is concerned, our exports are a little less than around $1 billion per year. At the same time, we all know that Chile imports almost about $74 billion of products and services in an year. So this is very, very insignificant as compared to the actual import which is happening. Same is the case with India's import from Chile also. This also is only in the tune of about $1.2 to $3 billion per year, mainly on these precious metals and all. So we in the ministry are also actually working in close cooperation with the industry associations and the trade bodies which are focusing on this region to identify potential products and services where we can actually leverage further and increase our bilateral trade with these countries. This conference which PhD Chamber is organizing today is also one of the steps in that direction. So let me bring it to your notice that we have a PTA with Chile. This is one of the 2 PTAs which we have in the Latin American region. The second being with the Mercosur, which has 4 countries. This is one of the very promising PTAs, wherein since 2006, because the PTA was signed in 2006 and came into force in 7, and we had 1 round of PTA renegotiation, and now today we have almost about 1031 tariff lanes which India has offered to Chile, and also Chile has offered us almost about 1784 tariff lines. Now we are in the process of the second negotiations of this PTA. The last round of negotiation was scheduled to happen from actually 26th and 27th of March this year, but unfortunately because of this COVID scenario we had to postpone it. We look forward for the removal of the lockdown and the situation becoming normal to continue with this negotiation. So we are looking forward to expanding our tariff lines much beyond what we already have today. And some of the areas where we actually have a lot of potential to do, like Indian export to Chile mainly covers motor vehicles, automobiles is one major sector. Similarly, man-made yarns, fabrics. These are the major,
Suresh Kumar ji, if I request if you can switch off your video, so it will give you more bandwidth, sir. I think we have lost his connection. He will connect again. Can you hear me, Neeraj? So I think we will have Mr. Suresh Kumar again reconnected.
Yeah, he's there.
Is there?
Yeah, I think I'm back now. There was a disruption in between.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of potential in some of these areas. Similarly, India is also looking forward on a few items like import of lithium and other minerals from Chile. We already have signed an MOU with Chile recently in this. So these are the areas where we have a lot of complementarities which we can actually work out. So those industries who are participating in today's conference, who are actually having mutual interest in trade with the Latin American countries and specifically Chile, can actually look forward into these areas. And I'm sure that when Honorable Ambassador, when she speaks, she will also be giving us the potential areas where we can actually look forward and further leverage. So I will stop here with this brief introduction on the status of India's trade relation with Chile, and based on the discussions and based on the on the points which are raised by other participants, we can further clarify other issues also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suresh ji. And we all look forward to you, because as per the Focus Labs program, the discussion which we had the last week, and we look forward to a lot of more incentives and support from the government, mainly for the exporters who will be participating in different events in the coming years. So just to take this further, now I would request our Mr. Amit Ray, who is the chairman for the International Affairs Committee for Americas for the PhD, and also he represents UFlex Limited. So I will request Mr. Ray to share his views, please. Neeraj, can you please unmute him?
Good morning and good evening to all of you. And Your Excellency, Ambassador of India to Chile, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Mr. Nagi Reddy, Andrea, you've just spoken a little while ago, and Mr. Multani, and all my colleague, Ms. Rashmi Chopra, and our colleagues from the PhD chamber.
Ray sir, if you can just focus your camera, because we can't see your...
Okay.
Yeah, now it is better.
Can you see me now?
Now I think, yes, now it is visible.
Yeah. Okay. I thank the leadership of PHDCCI for your address and for sharing, Mr. Multani, for your address and for sharing your valuable inputs. I once again welcome the dignitaries on behalf of the International Affairs Committee for Americas. 2019, the year 2019, began on a high note of the relationship between India and Chile, with the visit of our President, Honorable President, Sri Ramnath Kovind to Chile. The visit took place last year when we celebrated 70th year of establishment of India-Chile diplomatic relations, virtually as old as our republic. The visit reinvigorated bilateral ties and provided new direction to the multifaceted development of our bilateral relations. On this occasion, Chile announced visa-free entry for all Indian citizens holding US visas with 6-month validity. Agreements signed during the visit included an MOU on cultural exchange program, a joint letter of intent for cooperation in disability sector, and a joint letter for renewing the MOU in the field of geology and mineral resources. India and Chile have signed agreements and memorandum of understandings covering various fields of cooperation such as sports, science and technology, defense, air services, agriculture, new and renewable energy, education, outer space, geology and mineral resources, and gainful employment of spouses and eligible dependents of diplomatic personnel. High value added items, I think this has been commented on before also, such as commercial vehicles, Telco, Mahindra, motor cars, Tata Motors, Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai, two-wheelers, and bulk pharmaceuticals have entered the Chilean market and are among the top 10 Indian exports to Chile. The government of India has just a few days ago announced huge growth in the next 5 years, planned growth in the next 5 years in the manufacture of bulk pharmaceuticals to reduce the dependency on China and also to provide to such bulk pharmaceuticals to many countries in the world. Other traditional items being imported by Chile and are home furnishings, garments, handicrafts, textiles, carpets, hand tools. India's imports from Chile are predominantly copper, iodine, chemical wood pulp, molybdenum concentrates, walnuts and apples. And just a little while ago, our Vice President also mentioned about the possibility or the opportunity, let me put it that way, of Ayurveda being sent from India to Chile. We understand that discussions are underway to finalize phytosanitary requirements for the export of avocados and blueberries from Chile and the import of mango, cocoa peat, pomegranate, and pomegranate adults from India. Investments, as far as Indian investment in Chile is concerned, based on the information given by various companies, amounts to about US $220 million. Indian companies have entered the Chilean market by acquiring Chilean companies or setting up joint ventures. Chilean investment in India amounts to US $150 million. However, independent information is that Chilean financial institutions have invested up to 3,244 million US dollars in the Indian financial sector, which itself speaks the potential of both the countries. Post-COVID, whenever that happens, I think India's outreach to the world will increase as much as the outreach of our other friendly countries towards India. And this speaks of a lot of opportunity of opening up trade and cultural activities and people-to-people contacts between our two countries. At the onset, I wish our associates in Chile all the very best, especially during this time of pandemic, and assure of all the assistance they require from our chamber. Look forward to a very interactive and fruitful session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sir, for sharing your views on this. And we definitely would be working together along with the guidance from Ambassador Madam and also with the CAM India to take this trade further.
Yes.
So now I would request Miss Andrea, she is the General Manager from the CAM India, which is the Chile India Chamber of Commerce, with whom we have been working in the last 2 years also. So I request Miss Andrea to share her views from the Chile point of view.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today. First, I would like to put everything in context for Chile. So the relationship between India and Chile has built its own an extremely solid path. There is no doubt that the expansion of the trade agreement will generate an increase in the exchange between both countries. But the velocity at which this will happen have not only to do with the will of the businessmen or the government, but also with the conditions of the local economies and the global situation, which at the current pandemic will certainly slow down a bit. Despite this, it seems to me that India can play an even more relevant role in our economy, as India is the 7th largest economy in the world and today is our 12th trading partner for Chile. I think there is a lot of room to grow and we are working to make this happen. So the pandemic has not only left tens of thousands of deaths worldwide, but also an economy hit hard in all the sectors. This is something that we cannot avoid. Undoubtedly, Chile has not been exempt from the global scenario, where the spread of the virus had and will have huge impact on the local economy due to our strong dependence to exports. But regarding the general economic expectations in the medium term of the foreign investment level, the immediate news are still worrying, as the UN Trade and Development Division recently revised its forecast on the effect of the COVID-19 on the global foreign direct investment flows, and from a conservative reduction of -5 to -15% to a drastic drop of between 30 to 40%. It is unfortunate because in terms of foreign direct investment, Chile was actually doing really, really good. Actually, before the health crisis, we were marking an increase in the foreign investment flows with a revenue of almost 12,000 million US dollars in 2019, which was 63% more than in 2018. And likewise, for the first 2 months of 2020, we also brought good news, which with an amount of almost 5,000 million US dollars. And this has actually been the highest figure for January and February since it has been registered. Nevertheless, the economic and political relationship between Chile and India, which is over 70 years old, is expecting a particularly dynamic moment with a commercial exchange of more than 2.1 billion US dollars annually. As also our president met in June and August of last year with the Prime Minister of India, which led to the generation of a series of agreements with a view to promoting trade, investment and collaboration between the two countries. There are two things that I think are important to highlight. The first one is the agreement to the end of double taxation, signed by the Minister of Finance and Ambassador Anita Nayar in March, which is actually essential to boost investment, and as well the beginning of the negotiations to deepen the current partial agreement between Chile and India in August of last year. And as it was told, we hope to continue with this when it's possible. Despite the good political and economic relationship between India and Chile, it's important to mention that due to the health crisis, and specifically due to the health crisis, we are facing now the following situation. So the Chilean exports in the first 3 months of the year exhibited a year-on-year decrease of 4% in relation to the same period of the year 2019. And when analyzing the figures by market, the biggest falls in sales abroad are registered actually in Europe, in the European Union, Japan, India, and the United States. And this, for us, for India, it showed a decrease of 45%. We will get to the good part though, don't worry. And by the other hand, our imports have fallen by 30% during the first quarter of 2020 in relation to the same period of the year 2019. And here the largest falls are registered in the following markets: China, Japan, Brazil, Mexico, and South Korea. Here, it was the impact was less. For India, we had a decrease of 16%. And actually, one of the biggest questions that we have today is to know how long it will take for economies to recover from several months of quarantine and paralysis. But according to the last estimate from the International Monetary Fund released this April, practically no country in Latin America will be able to avoid a recession, at least for the year 2020. But we have to say that they speculate that Chile will be one of the best positioned countries for the year 2021. So this is actually good for our country. As for the opportunities, if we look to the opportunities, I think there will be two keywords, that it will be acceleration and facilitation. Now we will have the capacity of bringing together public and private partners to make cross-border trade simple, fast, and cost-effective. And we will be able to remove trade barriers worldwide by digitizing documentation as much as possible, cutting physical inspections where no needed, clearing goods virtually before they arrive, and unlock crowded ports. Hoping with this to ensure commercial flows without physical contact by issuing regulations that authorize and establish electronic payments, signatures, and also electronic contracts. The current crisis offers as well an opportunity to develop preparation for future pandemics or worldwide crises, in addition to national measures to guarantee supplies. In the essential to maintain public-private and multi-sector, it will be actually essential, and this is one of the good example. It will be essential to maintain public-private and multi-sector coordination to respond to the demands and our exporters and importers, and to give our support in terms of facilitation to keep logistic and production chains open, maintaining the commercial flow in order to ensure supply of essential products and to transmit a signal of confidence to the global economy. But to achieve this, cooperation and trust are required, which is a great challenge in this time of trade tensions. In this way, actually, we would like to encourage companies that already know Chile and its benefits to expand their operations in the country after the health emergency, and new companies that would like to expand to Latin American markets. And I can say that crises in general always bring a good thing at the end. They will bring something good to countries. And in this case, for us, it will be the creation of new and higher standards for the international trading. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, for giving us all these details. And I, from PhD Chamber of Commerce, would like to assure you that we would like to work very closely with CAM India so that we can connect the right people together from your side and from our side and take this trade further. And we would work under the guidance from Her Excellency, that she has been always guiding us, advising us how to go further on that part. So now, Excellency, now I would invite you to share your views. I think the technology part, we can see it here again, that if we are not able to connect that way, so this is another way of connecting it. So, Madam, we would like to hear it from you, ma'am.
Thank you, Naveen. Just tell me if people can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, people can hear you.
Good. I congratulate you on this initiative, and I thank everyone who's agreed to participate. I hope the question answer session will be very lively. I just want to make a few main points because everything has been given to you in such detail. Basically, Chile is a net importer. Almost any product that we make in India has a market here. The only thing to understand is the nature of the market for each product. For Naveen and other people in PHDCCI, what I'm going to say will be very familiar. The certain products are, there are a lot of possible buyers here, a lot of possible importers, SMEs. Certain products are in the control of monopoly companies. So the number of buyers who can buy in bulk is very, very low. And therefore, it makes sense to focus on products where there is a wide range of people and companies importing and working. And for the other products, to do very targeted marketing with the monopoly companies. The other issue is tariffs. JSLAC has already mentioned their efforts, and I think that is the one area which has changed the nature of India-Chile trade. Ever since the PTA began, the expanded PTA, we've seen the results in terms of higher exports from India, and almost every product where we do not have preferential tariffs, we are undercut by China. And I'm assuming that post-COVID-19, China will be even more aggressive in its measures to try and regain its market. So we have to take every advantage we can get and broaden the number of zero tariff items that we have. Secondly, the other issue which I can see is a lot of tenders, especially project tenders, where we can get a lot of business. One of our problems is logistics, because it takes so much time for a product to reach Chile from India, roughly 2 to 3 months. It sometimes disqualifies us because the project tender deadlines cannot be met by us. So another idea which I believe FTLAC is considering, but I hope all of you will consider because it would need a public-private partnership, is to set up warehousing facilities here, which can be shared by companies. And it can be done in the free trade zone here relatively inexpensively. The third issue here is the regulations of the Chilean government, where preference seems to be given to those who are physically present in the country in some way, either with an office here or a representative here. So that is another area where you can all, Camindia can certainly help, but it would be anybody looking for serious business with Chile would be well advised to either open a company office here or to find a good representative. Beyond that, the sky is the limit as far as I'm concerned. And I am happy to note the trend of increase in Indian exports to Chile, even when India's imports from Chile have been going down, and which is why the trade figures have taken a dip in the last 2 years, the total trade figures. But if you look at India's exports, they've actually been increasing steadily. In 2017, 18, sorry, they went up by about 20%. In 2019, despite everything, they still went up by about 15%. So I wish you all luck. The embassy is always here to help. I don't want to go on about, but I just wanted to make the basic points that I have. And now I leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for the kind words. And I must confess and tell everyone that for the last 2 years, since the time we have been interacting with you, you have been guiding us, advising us in the right way. And we have met you a number of times. And
I'm going to interrupt here, Naveen, and say that you haven't taken my advice. I keep advising you not to have that India show.
That we are discussing, we will definitely change that format of that which you have been suggesting. So now we will be coming up with that new format which you have suggested.
Make it a buyer's enemy.
Yes.
Make it a buyer's enemy. Focus on our non-traditional products. not clothes and jewelry and handicrafts. And it's really and truly, now I'm saying it openly, publicly, it's a waste of time and waste of money.
We'll take your advice seriously, and we are working on those, ma'am. Thank you. And now to take this further, I would request our co-chairperson for the Americas Committee, Ms. Rashmi Chopra, to share her views and ask any questions if she has. Neeraj, please unmute her.
Thank you. Thank you, Her Excellency. I welcome everyone, respected speakers and all the attendees for taking out time in the morning and the evening. Taking it forward from what Her Excellency said about China now being more aggressive post-COVID, and also regarding the distance and the logistics issues, I would say that India's exports can really be increased substantially to LAC regions in the next few years if the government, the chambers like PHD, and the other export promotion councils and the bodies, they actually work and plan very seriously and systematically going forward. Now, LAC region has always been a point of, a myth that it's very far and it's a very less familiar category for the Indian industry. But just to show some statistics, I would say that in 2018-19, India exported more to distant Guatemala than to our neighboring Cambodia. And in fact, on a one-to-one region comparison, India exports to Central America are more than what we ship to Central Asian republics. So it's not the distance, it's probably in the mind. Yes, we have to work the logistics more better. And I think we can probably make LAC a focused region going forward. I would like to mention that India should also take a leaf out of Beijing book, which has set a target of $500 billion in trade with Latin America by 2025. Taking it up from the figures to 2018 figures of 148 billion in exports and 157 billion in imports. The Commerce Ministry should revive its Focus LAC program, which helped in the past in encouraging and supporting Indian exporters to explore the business opportunities in Latin America. I really welcome the buyer-seller meet that Her Excellency is proposing, and yes, not to go by just the traditional crafts and things. We have to remodel and reorient now to better categories. And the Indian government should also consider extending large lines of credit to export to support our Indian exporters. While China has given almost $150 billion of credit to the region, India has given probably been given only $300 million. Modi government, our sir, he's doing a wonderful work. He should also open probably embassies in countries such as Ecuador, Bolivia, Paraguay, Dominican Republic. As you very well said that, we have to be physically present there to do business. So opening up of embassies in these regions will definitely help India's exports. And post-COVID, yes, China may not be the first of only preferences for LAC region. This is a good time to accelerate the economic push into Latin America, which has earlier started attaching importance to India. The third largest export destination for the region's export after US and China. So we have to actually seriously and aggressively work upon to promote India in the LAC region, and so that to reduce the over-dependence on China, definitely they will be aggressive. Then Latin America see India as growing market as well as the a great economic partner. So we see a potential provided we are physically present there, we have the logistics worked out, and we work beyond the traditional exports that we've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi. I think, Excellency, you wanted to say something on this?
Basically on credit. Our credit is too expensive. Chile can get cheaper credit. elsewhere. That is also a problem that Exim Bank is grappling with. So that is a more complicated issue. It's not giving credit to Chile is something which has been considered in the past, and a lot of it has been found to be not practical. Exim Bank, however, has said that it would fund project credit. And that is an area which I would like to repeat again, is something that we are not exploring, because Chile is going in for major infrastructural expansion. Roads, railways, hospitals, hotels, you name it, electricity, energy, water, you name it, they are trying to expand their and improve their infrastructure. There's all sorts of business connected with projects, subcontracts, supply of individual items, and so on, which we are not really taking advantage of. And to take advantage of that, not only do we need credit support from India, but we also need, and that I come back to my logistics point, that we need better logistics, because we need to be able to supply something in a few weeks, which most other countries are able to do instead of 3 months. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. I think now to take further, we have certain questions which we have received. So I will address it. Maybe Suresh ji or Ambassador ma'am can address on that. The question says that what are the potential and future projects in transmission lines, substation and distribution projects in Chile, where Indian company can participate? So this is one of the participants who has asked. Second is, are there any future Exim Bank of India funded projects envisaged for Chile, especially in the sectors where Indian companies would be interested? And he also says that a lot of projects are being funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, where unfortunately Indian companies are not allowed to bid. Is there any possibility of allow Indian companies to bid in the projects funded by IADB? So maybe Suresh ji, if you would like to address on this. Neeraj, please unmute Suresh ji.
Yeah, just 2 points on some of the issues which were flagged by some of the participants. One, this Focus LAC program, which we have for last 20 years. Just last week only, we had a video conference with all of you, all the industry chamber and all, about taking feedback on how best we can augment Focus LAC further, and what are the components that we have to now bring into that. So we are actually working on that. We thank you for your feedback and all. Maybe today also, if we get any new insights, like what I think the previous speaker Rishmi was talking about, some of the points, we can incorporate those things also in the Focus LAC. And in one of those points which we are discussing is for India to become a member in the Inter-American Development Bank, because that is very much required for Indian companies to actively participate in the project contracts in the Latin American region, which it's not easy. It may take a longer time. It may take years to finally succeed. So I understand the ambassador also will be able to help us and guide us how we can go ahead. We are actually, in fact, going to propose it from the ministry side. This is one of the important points. Second, this project contract and the need for credit support and logistics, including the warehousing facility, is also a big bottleneck. This is like the chicken and egg situation. Like because of the absence of dedicated freight lines and logistic and warehousing facility, we feel that many Indian companies are not able to actually go to these markets. Whereas unless we have a substantial volume or value of trade, these logistic things also will not come up actually. Who is going to invest if they are not sure about the business? So this is an issue which is going on for quite some time. Maybe we will have to work together. Government and the industry will have to work together, and we should have a sort of a joint mechanism because one individual cannot do it and government alone will not do it. So maybe we need to have a collaborative approach to do it. Maybe not just for one country, but maybe for a group of few countries in the region, we can have some common warehousing facility from where all the participants can operate. So I think these are the 2 points. And one more point which already has also come up, because of this COVID situation, and maybe for another few months we may have similar situation of restriction in the international travel. So what we are looking at is to have digital buyer-seller meets. So we have already floated this idea, and we have written to all the missions also, that if the missions can facilitate digital buyer-seller meet, we can actually work with all of you, and we can also plan this so that, you know, we need not wait for the complete restriction to be eased out for traveling. So these are the few points which I thought I will just flag.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we have another one from Mr. Jha. He says, what is the scope for engineering consultancy, especially in railway transport consultancy sector? So maybe Excellency or Andrea, would you like to take this up?
Andrea?
Neeraj, if you can...
let me just say one this thing, then Andrea could take over. The issue is, you know, in Chile, things work two ways. A lot of projects are created by the industry itself. Like, for example, the Chile-Santiago rail link was actually driven by a local consortium which includes Chinese companies. And they persuaded the government to make it a project. This thing, of course, is government planning. But it will always help if you have a man on the ground who can get information about what is happening and feed it to you so that you can tender and, you know, make your offers in time. It is always a good idea to have somebody who is registered with the Chilean government, because a lot of tenders are not global in the sense that we would think it's global. You need to have a Chilean connection. In this country, that is something I have realized in the last 3 years. It's extremely important. So all of you, if you're looking at Chile for projects, for consultancy, for engineering, infrastructure, find a good agent here, somebody who can keep an eye on the market and let you know what is coming up. The other thing I just wanted to mention, the American bank is very interested in cooperating with India. So I hope that will take momentum. And warehousing, there is an interesting proposal from here in Chile where, apart from some management charges, which are roughly $20,000 a month, the actual warehouse space, you do not have to rent in advance. You rent as is when is. So you don't have to pay money for space that you're not using. And I think that will take care of one of the issues, which is having space without people taking advantage of that. So if you can consider that, because again, the free trade zone here is very well placed to reach Bolivia, to reach Peru, and they even have a direct road connection to Brazil. So it could be something which can be considered. Suresh is absolutely right. Actual dedicated freight travel from India will need a certain volume of freight to be built up. But this kind of warehousing, perhaps we can look at it seriously now.
Andrea, you have something to add to this, or we take the other question?
No, actually, I would like to remark upon a point that the ambassador said, that Chile is actually a really bureaucratic country. And it's really important to have the good contacts here. They have indeed the person that will give you the insights, but Chile is really trying to expand. It's trying to grow a lot in terms of infrastructure. So there are opportunities, but it's true that you need to search well for it or to propose it itself to the government.
Now we have a question from Mr. Vivek Bansal. He's asking, what is the scope for edible oil and chemical plant equipment in Chile?
Okay, for this specific point, I think, yeah.
Any scope for, edible oils, again, Chile imports most of its consumption. So it may not be a good idea, but we can always explore it.
And we have questions from Mr. Subhash Gupta. He is asking, what is the scope for exporting fine herbs, sorted and nicely packed? And what is the scope for truck transportation and logistics in Chile?
Chile is completely dependent on road transport at the moment because the railway infrastructure was wound up virtually. They are now trying to expand the railway network, but right now it's road transport. So that is the main form of commercial traffic here. As far as fine herbs are concerned, again, it's a niche market. Chileans are conservative when it comes to food and spices, and it's not a market where you can expect a huge order, bulk orders, and it would be a market which is very regulated in terms of phytosanitary regulations, labeling, branding, and so on. So it may not be worth the effort.
Now we have a question from Mr. Abhijit Bhattacharya. He's asking, what are the scope for milk processing plant, dairy sector and food processing sector in Chile?
There is considerable scope because agriculture is an agri-food. Chile is one of Chile's main industries, if you second only to mining. So there is considerable scope, but I would, we'd have to take a look at what the industry's expansion plans are. Right now, the sector has been very hard hit by COVID, not only by COVID, but also by the social unrest which preceded COVID in Chile, which also affected businesses negatively. And there is a possibility that once COVID is over, the demonstrations will begin again. So in the next year or so, I don't think there is going to be any thought of expansion in these sectors.
And there is another one from Mr. Georgie George. He is asking, what is the scope for the IT sector from India in Chile?
Unlimited.
Yes, of course. For the IT sector, I think this is actually one of the most possible positive markets that we will be facing. As in Chile, we have already many companies that are requesting to Indian companies to handle all their software, the creation of software. We have, for example, Falabella that just opened up in India an office where they are actually creating all the software for Chile. So we are seeing that this part of technology and knowledge from India, it has been developed, and we have actually, as a chamber, received as well many questions about it. And I think this is something that there will be a lot of transactions of these kind of services.
And Mr. Rajneesh Verma wants to know, how can we fast track the availability of essential medicines, especially in terms of registration process?
Anita, if you would know.
It is something which is going to be very difficult as long as the Chilean government insists on bioequivalency tests. There is some legislation on the table which might make the process easier. We are monitoring that, and the moment that legislation is passed, we will let you know the impact of it. Right now, we are putting up a survey on our webpage, which talks about what the proposed legislation is and what the possible impact would be. But of course, the final this thing will depend on the law itself as it is passed, the amendments that may be made and so on. So we will monitor that and upload that also. But right now, it is, again, the advantages with companies which have come here and opened offices here and have tried to register as much as possible. I am told that the average cost of registering drug here is about $30,000 minimum. And it takes about 6 months to 2 years. So if companies would like to make that investment now, it would give them an edge. But right now, I would also recommend waiting for the legislation which may change the process and make it simpler. At least that's the Chilean government's idea.
Rashmi Chopra ji wanted to know what is the main scope for education, training, and the service industry. Trainers from India mainly.
There is scope, except the problem is language. So if you can provide your training resources and so on in Spanish, you will find a lot of takers. English will be less, much less. The majority of Chileans don't speak English.
Excellency, we have a lot of questions. I think we have shortage of time. So what I will do, I will compile all these questions and we will share with you, Mr. Suresh Kumar and Ms. Andrea, and then we can get back to most of the people. And before we request our Secretary General, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, to propose the vote of thanks, I would request Mr. Nagi Reddy, if he is still online, and if he would like to share some of his thoughts on this. Mr. Nagi Reddy, please. Neeraj, can you unmute Mr. Nagi Reddy? Yeah. Mr. Reddy, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Naveen. Good morning, ma'am. Nice seeing you after a long time. Our Joint Secretary has pointed out a lot of issues which pertain to the focus that we are having on LAC and Chile in particular. The very fact that we are expanding the PTA for the second time just within 2 years indicates the thrust both sides are putting in for improving the bilateral trade. Before I take some points, I would like to highlight one particular issue. We were doing well in 17-18, we were doing well in 18-19, but in the financial year 19-20, our exports to Chile have grown negatively, especially during the period April to Jan. If April to Jan is negative, I did not mention about February and March. The figures are out, but definitely they will also be negative. And we have grown negatively in our exports to Chile, especially in sectors where we have export potential. We grew negatively in pharma, in engineering, in chemical products, in auto, and also in processed foods. So I would request the participants, especially those who are having business interests, to introspect into what could be the reasons. Second thing is, Chile has given us more than 1800 tariff lines in the first expansion of the PTA. When these are transposed to the current HSN code, they become more than 2200 lines. Our PTA utilization is less than 60%. So I think this is where our industry needs to focus. If Chile has offered us those lines, we should be looking into expanding our exports on those lines, because there is no tariff disadvantage on those lines. So that would be the main thrust which we will have to put in. And the third thing is the imports from Chile. The imports from Chile also have reduced during the current financial year. Though we may be importing more of copper ore, there are other products where we do import from our LAC countries. So we should also be looking to Chile as a reliable and potential supplier. I would also like to draw to the attention of the participants the COVID and post-COVID developments. Chile and India, as a part of the PTA, have already an agreement to accept digital issuance of certificates of origin. So because of the good relations we have and because of the guidance which our ambassador ma'am provides, she has taken it up very promptly with Chilean government, and they have accepted that even without having the certificate of origin for a period of 60 days, they will still be accepting the import of the consignments at preferential rates on production of certain bonds or guarantees. Both countries have also mutually agreed to honor the copies of the documents to facilitate the clearance of the consignments by customs. We have also come to a conclusion regarding the continuity of this arrangement till the time the normalcy gets retained. We also need to focus on some of our sectors. Pharmaceuticals, ma'am has mentioned, our joint secretary has mentioned, couple of participants have mentioned. The issue of the regulatory barrier is there. We are also trying, with the support of our mission, to get an MOU executed between CDSU of India and their counterpart in Chile on regulatory cooperation. There is also a proposal which was made by Commerce to the Health Ministry to consider if any MRA can be executed between the drug regulators, so that there is no need for retesting, and also both of them go in for some conformity assessment. Suppose you have a WHO GMP plant in India, our CDSO has certified, then can that certificate be acceptable to the Chilean drug regulator and vice versa? So these are certain issues where in the post-COVID scenario become more prominent. Every country is in need of medicines and the high standard generics that India manufactures. You have already seen that we have supplied to more than 80 countries the hydroxychloroquine aspect, paracetamols, so on and so forth. So it would be a win-win situation for both Chile and India if we are able to devise a mechanism for fast-tracking the regulatory approvals. Ma'am is already aware. Ma'am has been a great supporter of the MOU that we have executed between Senabast of Chile and STC of India. And that MOU is for sourcing high standard generics. So I think both of us should be working to take that MOU to the next level. There should be orders placed by Chile so that STC India Limited is able to procure from our authorized and highly renowned companies. In the beginning of the seminar, we were talking about Ayush products, and Ayush products also there is an MOU which has been executed for sort of cooperation. So I think pharmaceuticals, including Ayush products, can be focused upon. Project exports is a great opportunity. Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of External Affairs have both recommended that India should become a member of IADB. Ma'am is aware of that, and that is pending with the Ministry of Finance. I think the industry also needs to lend its support and provide justifications that Government of India can favorably consider the proposal of India becoming a member of IADB. Warehousing facilities, we have in the past asked the export promotion councils to give proposals. In fact, there was a proposal about, I think, more than 5 years ago, where EEPC was asked to examine the possibility of having a warehouse in Colombia. But unfortunately, that couldn't go forward. Now, since as ma'am has mentioned that in Chile there is an opportunity, I would request PhD Chamber of Commerce to take the lead. Maybe if you leave it to EPCs who only deal with a sector of products, they may not be so keen. And as our Joint Secretary pointed out, it is a chicken and egg story. So unless major industry bodies like PhD Chamber of Commerce, FICCI, CII come forward and take this initiative, things may not improve in establishing the warehousing facility. And another last point I would like to make is the industry bodies, with the help of our mission, must be able to establish a center in Chile for handholding of our importers, of our exporters, once their consignments reach Chile. We are doing enough to send the material from India to Chile. What is required there is to facilitate the transition in Chile and also to keep a real-time tap of what are the opportunities. It can be in tenders, it can be in public procurement, it can be private buyer requirements. If we act in time, we stand to gain. So we will need real-time information on all these aspects. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Naveen, if I may comment before we go to Mr. Sanyal very quickly.
Yes.
The exports went down because, not because of COVID, but pre-COVID, Chile was going through the social unrest, which caused a lot of businesses to close down, a lot of trade to be closed down. The customs people were on strike, ports people were on strike. It had a huge impact, negative impact on Chile's trade. So that is one reason why we may have seen negative exports in this year. This has been going on from about October, but it gained momentum in December. The other thing I would like to mention is the last point that Nagi made. We, I'm sorry, I have lost the thread of my thought, but I agree completely with Nagi and with JS Lack that things have to be done. And sorry, handholding, you were talking about handholding. CAM India can help here. Also, there are websites where if you register, you will get information, real-time information. It is just a matter of, you see, we convey it. We don't convey it in real time. Real time. We convey it once a week, once a month in our reports to Ministry of Commerce. By that time, it's too late. Again, I encourage individual companies to register here, register with the government, register with the websites. Then you will get real-time information. Or have an agent here who will do it for you. CAM India can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Now I request Mr. Saurabh Sarnyal, Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce, to share his views and also propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you so much. At the outset, good morning to the participants from Chile and good evening to our members and participants in India. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Ambassador of India to Chile, Her Excellency, Ms. Anita Nayarji, for addressing our members today. Thank you so much, Excellency, for those excellent insight into the Chilean business and trade. I would also like to thank profusely Mr. S. Suresh Kumar, the Joint Secretary LAC, and Shri K.V. Nagi Reddy, Director FT LAC, Department of Commerce, Government of India, for joining and sharing their very, very valuable inputs. A few points which I wanted to make, which were missed out, and where the LAC and India can make a considerable dent in the business and trade opportunities. One was the large line of credit, like Asia and Africa. This could be opened up, and this is for the Ministry of Commerce to ponder about. And also the Exim Bank, which is currently located in the Washington, D.C. region. If it could be shifted to Sao Paulo or Buenos Aires, where it could have a better focus on the LAC region. So that was one of the recommendations which I wanted to make. Then the second point which I wanted to make to the dignitaries and excellencies was that the Indian universities could be encouraged to open Latin American study centers such as Spanish and Portuguese language courses. China has 65 Latin American study centers, whereas India, we have only 3 at the moment. That is in JNU. One of them is in JNU, the other is in Jindal University, and the third one is in Goa University. So we could increase, these language barriers which we have, so that our people, when they move to the LAC region, they are very, very familiar and they can talk in their local lingo. Third one was the annual India Latin America conclave, business conclave, which is held. So this conclave needs to be scaled up, and PhD can certainly become a big partner in this, and also involve the ELAC, the ECLAC, the IADB, the CAF, the BCIE, the CDB, and other similar organizations and banks. They can be co-opted as permanent participants and sponsors in this business conclave. And the last but not the least is that India and Chile has tremendous amount of opportunity, as was rightly brought out by the Excellency. The line of credit from the Exim Bank from India would assist and help our entrepreneurs and our businessmen to go there for the project activities, as was brought out, for construction of building of roads, airfields, hospitals, infrastructure, hotels, and this will go a long way, because 75% of the material can be shipped from India there, and it will give a very big support to our Indian EPC companies, which can go and execute these works there. With these words, I also thank Ms. Andrea, for General Manager CAM India, for being part of this video conferencing and for sharing her valuable insights. Thank you so much. I thank our Vice President, Mr. Multani, all our members, our Chairman and Co-Chairperson, our participants from Chile for being part of this video conference and bringing their expertise and sharing their concerns and inputs. Finally, I thank my colleague Naveen and his team for putting up this wonderful webinar. With these words, I would request you all to accept our vote of thanks with acclamation, and I wish you all good health and safety. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Before we conclude, Excellency, I just wanted to convey, because I can see a lot of our exhibitors for that Festival Dila India show who have been participating with us are there also online. So we just want to assure them that yes, we will be taking the guidance from Ambassador and see how best we can take that event further. But for sure, Excellency, I would like to assure you that as advised by you, we will be having more of P2B activities in coming time now. As it
also,
is,
Naveen, I wanted to just make a point for the excellency, the RBSM and the BSM that she mentioned, Chilean business events could be organized in the two-tier manufacturing centers. This is a very important point which I am trying to make. This reverse buyer-seller meet could be organized in Tirupur, Coimbatore, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Kanpur, Ahmedabad, etc. And the EPCs can be, also brought in, the export promotion councils, because these are the places from where they are the manufacturing hubs of India. And this will be a very good, number of Chilean events could be organized in these centers. So this was another point which I wanted to highlight to JS LAC and also to the excellency.
Yes,
thank you.
I think as Dr. Nagi Reddy also mentioned that PhD would like to take lead in that.
Certainly,
we can definitely help take the help from the EPCs and take it further. And for sure would like to.
And Naveen,
yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt, but my point is simple. All your trade activities, BSMs, the road shows, whatever you need to do, the product is important. There are certain products where it's not worth it. It's not worth doing a BSM for textiles. It's not worth doing a show for handicrafts. It is worth it doing a BSM for pharmaceuticals. It's worth it doing a BSM for engineering products. So, when you look at doing activities here in Chile, please look at the product that you are targeting.
Sure. Certainly, Excellency. Noted that point.
Thank you very much. I thank each and all for sparing their time and being with us for this session. Thank you very much. And we will compile all the details and share with each and everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Naveen. I'm sorry I was blunt, but I